What is good, y'all? Welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where masculinity has not been recalled and faith has not been neutered. It is Thursday, January 13th in the year of our Lord, 2026. And this is not just politics. It is spiritual warfare dressed up as progress. We're done pretending. We're done pulling punches, and we are never apologizing. You're not going to get soy lattes and group hugs and safe spaces here, but stick around and you might just find what you're looking for. You know, before we get into the meat of the show, I saw something that absolutely made my day, and I think it'll make yours too. You probably have already seen it, but I want to start off on on a good note. So let's check this out real quick, and then we will get into the meat of the show. This guy. Keep an eye on that guy in the red coat. Boom. Look at this guy taking off his gloves thinking he's going to do something. Yep, he's going to get knocked out. Oh my goodness. That absolutely made my day. And I commented on that video. I said that sometimes violence is the answer, because being a Christian doesn't mean that you have to be a doormat. And obviously, I don't know anything about this guy, but he was done. He was absolutely done, and I do not blame him one bit. Oh man. That's right. That is absolutely right. Saved, not soft. Amen. All right. I want to get into this, and we have a lot to get to, and I don't know how much of it I am actually going to be able to get through. But words don't stay words forever. And when rhetoric replaces facts, and when narrative replaces truth, and emotion replaces restraint, people get hurt. And we're seeing that play out right now. And it's not just with this incident in Minnesota. We've been seeing that play out for a while now. But it's happening in Minnesota. It's happening throughout our culture. And it's happening around the world. And it's not left versus right. It's narrative versus truth. It's reality versus fantasy. And that's what happens. What we're seeing happen is what happens when rhetoric turns deadly. So we got a lot to get into, so let's get after it. So we've been talking about the shooting in Minnesota for a while now, and it didn't happen in a vacuum, and It didn't happen by accident. And it's not just the shooting that took place in self-defense, which we've talked about before and we'll probably get into again here later, but it's about rhetoric and it's about escalation and consequences. Now, this woman, Good, I've heard both of the woman's names and I can't remember which one is which. It doesn't really matter. She's dead, and that is a tragedy. But it didn't have to be that way. But she was killed because she was interfering in a large-scale ICE operation and didn't comply. Didn't comply with officers' commands and paid the price when she aimed that car at the agent and accelerated. The shooting immediately, predictably, triggered all kinds of protests, not on the scale that we saw with the George Floyd riots. And we know that's because she was white, and BLM and a lot of Black folks are on record saying that they don't care. It's not their problem. Shocker, right? But I want to take a look at what the mayor, the guy who wishes he was a Somali, Jacob Fry, had to say about this, because this soy boy is just, it seems like he's trying to use this to springboard himself into a higher profile so that he can, I don't know, seek higher office, whether it's higher state office or national office, who knows? But he's playing it up. But let's take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it.
In the immediacy following the shooting, you heard people from the Trump administration saying that the victim was a domestic terrorist. You heard that the ICE agent was acting entirely in self-defense. And here's the thing. You don't need to take my word for it. You don't need to take their word for it. Watch the video.
Yes, watch the video. And for him to say that and then make these statements, either he didn't watch the video or he's just lying. And I guess the two are not necessarily mutually exclusive.
The ICE agent was not run over, as Trump
Yes, he was.
stated. You had a person that was definitively trying to just get out of there. They were trying to leave the scene.
No, he's just lying. He's just lying.
That is not a person that's trying to run an ICE agent over. You have a person that is trying to protect our city, to look out for our neighbors. And by the way, there are 435,000 people throughout Minneapolis that are looking out for their neighbors right now because they understand the magnitude of this moment, and they understand that the endurance of our republic depends on us looking out for each other, and we're standing strong here in Minneapolis.
This guy, he is, he obviously he's lying. And I find it hard to believe that he has not seen all of the videos that clearly show that what he just said, all of it, was complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. And of course, you have all of the left-wing American Pravda outlets basically saying the same thing. There may be some individuals on each one of those outlets who may come up with a different perspective, a reality-based perspective, but overall, they're all just lying. Reality-based outlets like SHR Media have noted the self-defense angle. I wrote an article on SHR about, or an op-ed on SHR about coming at it from the self-defense angle. And you can check it out on SHR Media. Self-defense does not require permission from the mob is the, well, actually, tragedy does not invalidate self-defense is the title. The first subhead is self-defense does not require permission from a mob. But in there, I break down, and others have as well, that this was a self-defense situation. He was either going to get run over or he was going to defend himself and the people around him. And that's what he did. The fact is, she was interfering in, and I'm not going to try to relitigate all of this right now, but the fact is she was interfering with a large-scale ICE operation, blocking traffic, making noise, honking her horn, all the stuff that we've all seen in the video. And she is actually defending the worst of the worst. They keep saying that they're going into these neighborhoods and they're just rounding up citizens, rounding up people who weren't breaking the law. But the fact is, they have been targeting the worst of the worst. Bill Malugin, and since he put out this tweet, there have been others in this same ilk that have been arrested. But let's just take a look at some of the people who have been rounded up in this operation. And then you'll see that these are the people that women like Nicole Good and all the people who are defending her, they're defending these people. These are some, Bill Malugin put out this tweet, these are some of the most egregious criminal aliens that have been arrested by ICE in this operation. And I'm not going to try and pronounce some of these names, but a Laotian illegal alien was convicted of strong-arm sodomy of a boy and of a girl who had a deportation order since 2018. Now, here's the thing. This is what gets me. These people have been convicted. Some of these people have been convicted of these heinous crimes and served some time. Not enough in most cases. Why were they still here? If they were illegal aliens, convicted of some of these crimes, and served time, why, when they were released, weren't they put directly on a plane and shipped out of here? Why were they allowed to roam the streets? That question has been rattling around in my head since I saw. This makes no sense. So we have one Laotian convicted of sexual assault. 2, 3 convicted of sexual assault, strong arm rape of a 12-year-old girl, kidnapping. Another one, strong arm. Why are all these Laotians in this country committing these ridiculous, heinous crimes? You need to look at that. We got a Mexican illegal alien convicted of sexual assault of a child and DUI, deportation order since 2016. All of them have deportation orders. Another Mexican illegal convicted of homicide, previously deported in 2002. Another Laotian convicted of 2 counts of homicide with a deportation order. And the list goes on. And ICE says all of these criminal aliens were roaming the streets freely in Minnesota prior to these arrests. These are the guys that Jacob Fry is referring to as neighbors. These are the people that the people protesting ICE, they're protecting these people. What? These are the innocent people, the law-abiding people that they say haven't committed any crimes. Okay. Makes absolute perfect sense. These people are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But what's happening when they engage in these protests, and when people like Jacob Fry and Keith Ellison and all the rest of them, and even the celebrities, which we're going to get to in a little bit, when they engage in this kind of rhetoric, they escalate conflict between the federal agencies, the federal law enforcement, and the people. And this type of thing sets a precedent for future enforcement operations. And it creates incentives for confrontation. Because, I mean, we're seeing that all over the place. The political consequences and polarization. We thought it was deep before, but this is on another level. This is on a whole other level. Democrats, local leaders calling for accountability, calling for reform, abolishing ICE. The bottom line is they hate America. They hate America and they hate you. There is no other explanation for why they would want to limit and curtail ICE's operations from rounding up these people. What other explanation could there possibly be? Well, apparently, Keith Ellison has an explanation, and he filed a lawsuit against ICE, and this is a long clip, but I want to play some of it because this is where it gets good.
And I'm so honored to be joined and in partnership with the city of Minneapolis under the leadership of my friend Jacob Fry, and the city of St. Paul under the leadership of Mayor Herr, who is also a dear friend of many years. We've come together, and we're here to announce a lawsuit we're filing against the United States Department of Homeland Security to end the unlawful, unprecedented surge of the federal law enforcement agents into Minnesota. Because this has to stop. It just has to stop. We allege that the obvious targeting of Minnesota for our diversity, for our democracy, and our differences of opinion with the federal government is a violation of the Constitution and of federal law. We allege that the surge, reckless impact on our schools, on our local law enforcement is a violation of the 10th Amendment and the sovereign laws and powers of the Constitution grants to states?
This guy is a lawyer, allegedly. And he actually is arguing that what they're doing is a violation of the 10th Amendment. There is a huge problem with that. A huge problem with that. The problem is that one of the problems is that immigration is an explicit power. Immigration enforcement is an explicit power of the federal government. The Constitution assigns naturalization, border enforcement, foreign relations and regulations to the federal government, not the states, which is where Article 6 of the Constitution comes in, the Supremacy Clause. Federal law is the law of the land. And when state law conflicts with federal law, the federal law wins. Period. State laws, policies, local laws must stand down when they conflict with federal authority. Simple as that. The 10th Amendment reserves powers not delegated to the federal government. Immigration is delegated to the federal government. Therefore, enforcing immigration law is the responsibility of the federal government. So the 10th Amendment doesn't apply. Just because they don't like a particular law being enforced by the federal government, too bad, so sad. You don't like it, change it. Elect people to change it. But the fact is, we saw what happens when immigration just runs completely amok during the 4 years of the Biden administration. And where President Trump is mopping up that mess right now with these ICE operations. So good luck with that lawsuit, but I don't see it going anywhere. It may go through some, it may go through the state courts and they may push it through, but it's gonna end up in the Supreme Court, and they're gonna strike it down. You don't have to be a constitutional scholar to understand this, but this is grandstanding on an epic level, without a shadow of a doubt. Let me the chat's been pretty lively this morning. Rowdy Rick Robinson is in the chat. I know he's listening, but so thank you for being here, Rick. I appreciate it. BZ is in the chat. Thanks for being here, BZ. B is in the chat. And yeah, you're right, BZ. I think it may even be over 90% involved simply being against President Trump. Absolutely. It's reflexive. If he said the sky was green, or if he said the sky was blue, they would say the sky is green. He could be influential in curing cancer, and they would say, well, cancer is a good thing, so we need to keep it. It's that pathological and reflexive with these people. Speaking of pathological and reflexive, I mentioned celebrities. And celebrities have latched onto this issue before investigators reached any conclusions, before an investigation even really started. The so-called celebrities in Hollywood didn't even, these people, I hate even really talking about them, but it's kind of relevant here in this particular situation. But they didn't just voice opinions, they issued verdicts, proclamations. And of course, we saw all of the left-wing lunatics talking about this issue. Dave Matthews, and I'm not going to play his excuse me, I'm not going to play his video. It's kind of long, and I can't remember exactly where he was when he finally mentioned the woman who was killed. But just take a look at this picture on Breitbart and you'll get it. I mean, just totally unhinged. Totally unhinged. It's always in the eyes, isn't it? Always. And I actually used to be somewhat of a fan of Dave Matthews. He wasn't like my favorite band or whatever, but I mean, I actually enjoyed some of his music. But this dude is nuts. Look at that. Look at that. So you can just imagine what his rant on social media said. But Leah Thompson is another one. She posted this emotional video claiming that ICE just is allowed to go around shooting people for no reason. So let's take a look at this.
Hey guys, I'm from Minneapolis, so, you know, this one hits a little close to home. And I'm fucking pissed. Why do people think that they can just go in and fucking shoot up people for no reason? And then get away with it? Like, what is this? What's happening? It's really easy to feel angry, to feel afraid, to feel helpless.
If you're not interfering in law enforcement operations, you have nothing to be afraid of. She didn't get shot for no reason. And this is another one who probably didn't see any of the videos, is just reflexively upset because Trump won and federal law enforcement is actually enforcing federal law, something we know they hate. And she's just reflexively spewing nonsense on social media and getting clicks and getting likes and all the rest of it. Nowhere acknowledging that there could be some facts in dispute, that there could be some things that would negate her claim, not acknowledging the fact that there's an ongoing investigation, and not even considering legal standards when it comes to use of force. And that's I absolutely love that. I absolutely love seeing these people post about what the cops should have done when they have absolutely no training, probably never handled a weapon before, never wore a badge, never had any kind of training whatsoever when it comes to use of force. And yet they're saying he should have just stepped out of the way. I mean, come on. I'll never forget that this was probably 10 years ago now, maybe even longer, when there was an issue. I forget exactly what the incident was, but there was an issue, and a reporter actually did some journalism, and oh, that's hilarious. B says she should concentrate on continuing to be a terrible actress. Well played. Well played. Oh man, that cracked me up. But there was an incident that prompted this journalist to actually do some journalism and seek out law enforcement to get a perspective on what we know as the Tuller drill, colloquially known as the 21-foot rule. And he went through the training of when to draw your weapon when dealing with someone who's coming at you with an edged weapon. And by the end of it, he was like, wow, I had no idea. Yeah, you had no idea, and now you do. And the same thing with this. These people are saying he should have stepped out of the way. He was within, what? Generously say 2 feet, probably closer than that, when she accelerated and hit him. And he's just supposed to jump out of the way on an icy street because her tires were spinning. On an icy street, he could have slipped and ended up under the car. I mean, these armchair cops who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about just really annoy me. But anyway, back to the celebrity nonsense. And I'm going to try and speed run through this because it's really annoying. But the Golden Globes took place. I had no idea it was happening, but it happened over the weekend. And of course, every one of those celebrities, they were wearing this stupid pin, be good, in reference to Renee Good, who was the one who got shot. But what does that mean, be good? Does that mean be like her and try to run over ICE agents? Someone could take it that way. I do. Because these idiots who recite lines for a living, they have no idea what they're talking about. They all have security. They don't have to worry about being accosted by any of these illegal aliens. They don't have to worry about any of that. They live in gated communities with security. But we're supposed to just deal with it. Well, in some cases, if people take it there, that's what's going to happen, BZ. BZ says in the chat, does that mean be dead? I mean, that's kind of what they're arguing for. This is what happens when emotion replaces evidence. When visibility replaces accountability, and when narrative replaces truth. When celebrities issue their verdicts on the red carpet like that, the facts really never make it past that velvet rope. And if they do, the facts aren't going to penetrate those rock hard skulls they have. And the reason why this matters, the reason why this matters is celebrities, I don't want to say for good or ill, because it's obviously for ill, hold a lot of cultural power. When they frame something, it fuels public perception, and in this case, anger. Between the celebrities and the officials, political leaders, it legitimizes hostility towards the agents. Contributes to doxing, which is what happened to that agent, and now he's dealing with security for his family. And here's the other thing. I saw this the other day. There's a GoFundMe or a Give, Send, Go set up for him and Renee Good. His, when I last looked, had about $150,000 in it, and hers was pushing $1 million. That's a problem. That should not happen. So that's just a little sidebar I wanted to get out there. And I'm not gonna. I had some clips queued up, but I'm not gonna bother. It's not. I really don't want to listen to Mark Ruffalo and Wanda Sykes spew their nonsense again. Award shows for the better part of the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years have been increasingly political. We know this. And they have a right to speak out. They have a right to be stupid. They have a right to say stupid things. We have a right to call them out. But here's the hypocrisy that really gets me. Charlie Kirk was killed on September 10th. The Emmys were on September 14th. Not a single mention in honor of Charlie Kirk at the Emmy Awards. But this woman, Renee Good, who tried to kill an ICE officer, an ICE agent, she was basically the guest of honor at the Golden Globes. Everyone wearing those pins. He was shot for talking to people and expressing a view they didn't like. She was shot in self-defense because she was trying to run over a law enforcement agent. He's vilified and she's celebrated. That is about as upside down clown world as it gets. And when you have the influence of these so-called celebrities, and they have the platform to influence the framing that people adopt, consequences are sure to follow. And if you don't believe me, I thought I had it queued up, but I guess not. There are a couple of videos I do want to show you. So let's take a look at this one right here. And there's another one after that I want to get into. Because these people are unhinged. Absolutely unhinged. They were saying Kristi Noem will hang. This was a protest in New York City. And later on, they say, save a life, kill an ICE. These people have absolutely lost it. So when I say that they basically give permission to these people with their rhetoric to act like this, this is the consequence. And then there's this guy. I saw this late last night as I was prepping the show and wasn't sure if I was going to be able to incorporate it. And I'm pretty much just shoehorning it in right now. But these are the people that they are radicalizing.
Fucking show up with guns to face you guys. It's fucking time for an armed resistance against the United States of America.
That sounds an awful lot like Civil War.
This is done. We're done. You're fucking murderers. You shot a woman in a wheelchair. We need to fucking come back with fucking weapons. Go to the gun store, get a gun.
He said, go to the gun store and get a gun. Okay, you do that, buddy. You go to the gun store and you pick up a gun. Even though after this display, and I believe this guy actually has a criminal record. Oh, look at him standing on an American flag. But he said, go to the gun store and get a gun and then come back. Okay, you do that. You do that, buddy. BZ says, and what have I been telling everyone? This isn't going back into the tube. This isn't getting better. It will get much worse. And you know what, BZ, you're right. And I, for a while, was in the camp that it won't reach that pitch. It won't get to that point. I thought cooler heads would prevail and things would calm down, but at this point, I gotta agree with you. I gotta agree with you that something dramatic, bloody and violent is gonna happen. I don't know if it will actually devolve into a full-scale civil war, but it's gonna get ugly. It is going to get really ugly and really bloody. Yeah. There was a time when I would have said, absolutely not, BZ. There was a time when I would have said, nope, not going to happen. At this point, I think you are probably right. All right, I could go on with that for a while, but I'm I do want to move on. And before we do, I want to get a word in from our sponsor. And our sponsor for today's show is Patriot Mobile. I think we can all agree at this point that, and I think we pretty much just discussed, that votes just aren't enough anymore. And although Patriot Mobile doesn't have anything to do with conflict, but you need to make sure that your resources and your dollars are going to companies that fight for what you believe in, which is why we switched to Patriot Mobile. The big reason, another reason was that the company we were with before was absolutely terrible and expensive. But Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. And they don't just talk about values, they back them up. And a portion of every dollar that you spend with them goes to pro-life, pro-family, and pro-liberty organizations. So right now you can get a free month of service when you go to patriotmobile.com and use promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. Defend freedom with every call, every text, every month. Switch to Patriot Mobile today. patriotmobile.com/Jackson. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch my good friend Sackhead Sean with the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. He is back, and he was on again last night. He had a great show. And so be sure to check him out, check all of us out. BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. He will be on tonight, and I am sure he is going to have a banger of a show tonight as usual. So be sure to check out all of those great shows, like and subscribe to the channel, and pray for us that we have a huge breakthrough. We are at when I looked just before the show, I believe it was 734 subscribers. So thank you all. We are making a nice push. Ever since we hit 500, we've been growing and stacking up subscribers, and we love it. So thank you all for liking and subscribing and sharing the channel. We really appreciate it. We're having a good breakthrough, so please pray for us that we have an even bigger one, because we want to reach as many people as we possibly can. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. And yeah, BZ, I saw that just before I went on the air. BZ says that Scott Adams has passed away. Sad. And I just saw yesterday that he had been transferred to hospice care. So I thought maybe he'd be around a little longer, but unfortunately, he has passed away. He recently publicly stated that he converted to Christianity, so we can be happy that he is with his creator now, and cancer is no longer ravaging him. So sad. All right. Let's get into this, because how much time we got? Yeah, let's do this, because this is something that we talk about often, and there's been a couple of things that I missed because of other things that have taken precedence, but I really want to talk about this. And maybe we'll speed run through it because I got a few other things I want to get to. The Islamization of this country is in full swing. And it didn't come with guns and swords and beheadings. Well, there were some beheadings. But it's arriving with resolutions. This is about political power, policy, and conquest. Institutions throughout state and local government have been captured. Governments, and we talked about this one last time we were together. Governments have been advancing resolutions for Muslim Heritage Month. And it's happening in Texas. It's happening all over Texas. It's happening in Florida. And public institutions are partnering with explicitly Islamist advocacy groups and terror-linked groups like CARE and Muslim Brotherhood. These taxpayer-funded groups are reflecting alignment with Islam. A legislative resolution in Florida was backed by CARE, and CARE-linked interests, as they're calling it. Texas City Council advanced disputed and fabricated claims of anti-Muslim threats and claims of Islamophobia. The NYPD actually has a memo that got leaked showing ideological training materials. And one of the members of a Muslim group within the NYPD said that they want 100,000 Muslim police officers. And you have professional networks, doctors, forming explicitly Islamic organizations. Doctors have formed a network, I believe in Florida, that are Sharia compliant. Whatever that means when it comes to medical care, but it's ridiculous. But in Florida, the legislature passed a Muslim Heritage Month resolution. And of course, groups like CARE and groups affiliated with CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood have praised this outcome. Of course they have. Of course they have. And the weird thing is that you never hear of any of these separation of church and state groups when it comes to Islamic groups taking over and spreading their message throughout government. Crickets, you don't hear a peep. Why do you think that is? We'll get into that in a minute. Yeah, BZ, of course, Dearborn, Hamtramck, and yeah. Not only cowards, but I think a lot of them are, like I said, captured. They love the money. They love the money, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second too. In Texas, Harris County, they defied Governor Abbott after he designated CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood as foreign terrorist linked and transnational criminal organizations. And excuse me, he warned everyone that these groups operate as civil rights groups, but they're political fronts advancing the Islamic agenda, which is obviously runs counter to American constitutional order and ideals. There was a city council. The name of the city it actually was in escapes me at the moment, but they had these claims of Islamophobia. People were threatening them and stuff like that. Come to find out, it was happening in a school. Come to find out, the claims were completely unfounded. And for a school district that is completely sympathetic to Islam, for them to actually find that there was no basis for these claims is pretty telling. And I talked about the leaked memo from NYPD, the Islamic Doctors Organization. And we're just letting it happen, like BZ said. These Islamist extremist movements, well, Islam puts no distance, there is no different distance between their faith and governance, because Islam is a political framework. It's a cult, it's a religious cult, but it is also a political framework designed for conquest. And they worm their way in. They feign compliance. They feign what's the word I'm looking for? They feign integration. But they know that as soon as they get their little tendrils in and they start gaining some influence, their population starts to grow, then they start to target these institutions, because they know that Americans fear being called bigots. They fear being called Islamophobes. They fear being called any kind of ist or phobe. Istophobic, phobophobes, as Bongino used to say. And he's actually going to be back on February 2nd, by the way. And they know that Americans have no frame of reference in history or religious literacy. They know this, and they exploit it well. And they know that Americans confuse or conflate tolerance with submission. And submission is what Islam is all about. So what's happening is the government is endorsing this madness, which lends legitimacy to it. And then when it's been legitimized, well, then policies will shield it. Speech against it becomes chilled, because that would mean that you are a bigot or a phobe or whatever other derogatory name they want to call it. And it can't be criticized. We see this everywhere. You can't criticize Islam without being called something along those lines. And this hasn't happened overnight. This is, like I said, a gradual and incremental process. And now it's at the point where you can't question it without being called some kind of name. Representation, they claim representation is the big buzzword these days. Everybody wants representation. You can't have a TV show without having a few Black people, a few homosexuals, at least one trans person, one gender diluted person. Even though that doesn't reflect society at all, but here we are. But that representation that they're demanding doesn't mean that they're immune from scrutiny. You can't defend religious liberty while at the same time endorsing Islam. Can't be done. Well, why can't it be done? Well, it can't be done because Islam does not allow for religious liberty. There are countless videos all over the internet of these imams talking about how Islam is going to take over, how Islam is going to be in every household. Well, how is that going to happen? It's going to happen because all you have to do is look at places where Islam has taken over. You convert to Islam or you die. If you can afford to pay a jizya, the tax, then you can do that. But that eventually that's going to run out, and you're either going to have to convert or die. And they talk about how they plan to outbreed everyone. There is no, so if you support religious liberty, you cannot support Islam. Because supporting Islam means that eventually there will be no religious liberty if we allow that to take over. And I forgot to mention, but one of the people in Florida who endorsed the resolutions is an openly homosexual man. Supporting a religion that, if it is allowed to take over, will kill him because being homosexual is against Sharia law, punishable by death. In a free society, religious liberty is paramount. Well, not paramount, but religious liberty is important. But the bottom line is this: Islam is completely, and I say this all the time, completely incompatible with civilized society. It's a barbaric cult and a regressive political system. It demands submission. Demands submission. Now, would I like to see everyone become a Christian? Absolutely. I absolutely would love to see that. But Christianity recognizes that God gave us free will. And I love you enough to tell you that if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord, you will be saved. But if you disagree and choose not to do that, I'll pray for you. And that will be that. Muslims tell us, like I said all the time, that Islam will be in every house, not because they can make the case that their God is the truth. But because in their system, you either convert or you die. Sackhead Sean showing up late. Thanks for being here. He has been doing a fantastic job on the website, and it's looking fantastic. So thank you, Sean. I guess that's a good excuse for being late. All right. Let's see. All right, since we got on that, let's continue with the Christian theme. Another thing I wanted to talk about is that when we talk about the left and the things that they when we talk about the left and the things that they advocate for and endorse, they tell us that they're all about compassion. But that's a lie. That's a lie. We all agree, left or right, we all agree we should care for the poor, the oppressed, orphans, widows, people who can't take care of themselves. But the question is, who takes the responsibility? Christian conservatives and leftists, they share the same moral vocabulary, I guess. But how that morality is built, the architecture on that is completely different. Christianity introduced ideas that were not widely accepted in the world. Inherent human dignity, care for the needy, widows, orphans, a moral obligation beyond your tribe or beyond seeking power. James 1:27 says, religion that is pure and undefiled before God is to visit orphans and widows in their affliction. The left didn't invent these values, no matter how much they want you to believe that they did. They inherited them from Christianity without acknowledging that that's where they came from. And these days, outright rejecting Christianity. The structure I think somebody's delivering something. In the Christian model, individual responsibility, personal responsibility is paramount. In the leftist model, it's government first. In the Christian model, it's family. And in the government model, it's redistribution over responsibility. In the Christian model, it's the church. And in the government model, in the leftist model, policy, government policy replaces conscience. In the Christian model, there's community and covenant. And in the government model, in the leftist model, bureaucracy replaces that. First Timothy 5:8, I've cited this before. If anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for the members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. The Bible assigns responsibility before it authorizes redistribution. Charity is important, yes, but you have to take care of your own first. And that brings us to the Great Society. The Great Society promised these moral outcomes without any covenant. It promised the same outcomes that Scripture actually supports. But they removed fathers. They dismantled families and rendered the church insignificant. It, as I said, replaced covenant with bureaucracy. They tried to build something that Scripture explicitly provides for, while rejecting the scriptural basis for it. There was a Democrat, can't remember exactly who off the top of my head, I had it. But when the Great Society was being implemented in 1965, he had a study commission and he warned that this was going to seriously hurt society. I believe it was Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Somebody can check that for me. But the consequences that he predicted followed, just as he said. Poverty went through the roof. The exact thing that it was supposed to alleviate. Fatherlessness exploded. Welfare exploded. We got a live one. Anyway, the strongest predictor of societal collapse is the absence of fathers. And the Great Society, they programmed that. They built that. Scripture tells us that fathers are foundational. Proverbs 20, verse 7 says, "The righteous man walks in his integrity. His children are blessed after him." There's a through line there. Scripture connects integrity, fatherhood, and generational blessing. And we see, when you look at all the men who are in prison and women, I think it's 90% of them grew up without fathers in the home. Most of them not even knowing who their fathers were. And I know that this is not a rail against divorce or co-parenting or anything like that. Those things happen. I wish they wouldn't, but I acknowledge that they do. And people are successful in co-parenting and raising great kids in the midst of divorce. I get that. I acknowledge that. I'm talking about the the idea that was instilled with the Great Society that fathers were unimportant, that fathers were unnecessary, beyond the obvious. I mean, they basically paid women to have kids and not have their fathers in the home. They paid women to have children out of wedlock. When I was working in Massachusetts, in low-income housing, there was a woman who had kids ranging from 2 all the way up to like in their 20s. And even though she had adult children, she was working on getting pregnant for a 10th time, because in the state of Massachusetts at that time, that may have changed, but in the state of Massachusetts, if you have 10 kids, you don't have to pay taxes on your welfare benefits. And that was her goal in life. How sad is that? Well, that's true. That's true. But here's the thing. I don't think you can be a Christian and be a Democrat. I really don't. Democrats support pretty much everything that the Bible condemns. Chat's getting a little spicy. I love it. At the core, this is a theological conflict. Christianity teaches covenant, sacrifice, responsibility, and leftism teaches entitlement, substitution, and detachment. But yet things can change, and things can change quickly. Great. I'm not sure what just happened there. I apologize. That was weird. I'll just close with this. Psalm 112, 1 and 2. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord. His offspring will be mighty in the land. The Great Society, the left in general, made fathers optional. God never did. So when we look at the state of society, whether you're with the mother of your children or not, if you're in your children's lives, fantastic. If they can see you as a man of integrity, if they can see you as a man who provides for them and protects them, then you are way ahead of the game, way ahead of the game. And if you're a Christian man on top of that, all the better. All right. I could go on. I can talk about that for a long time, but we're getting close to it. And I thought I had planned to run that clip I played in the beginning at the end, but I didn't think I'd have enough time. But here we are. So let's take a look at some Twitchy and see if we can see if we can go out on a little bit of a lighter note. Okay. We talked about celebrities and Mark Ruffalo, and apparently he said something really, really stupid. So let's take a look and see what the Hulk had to say. Dumbest scrote in Hollywood, Mark Ruffalo weeps about Trump terrorizing him as an American, and oh boy. Rita Panahi, if you don't watch Rita Panahi and Lefties Losing It on Sky News, you are missing out. She says, Mark Ruffalo is the dumbest scrote in Hollywood. This creep called real Donald Trump a convicted rapist in full rant. Well, he just invited himself a lawsuit.
This is for her. This is for the people in the United States who are terrorized and scared today. I know I'm one of them. I love this country, and what I'm seeing here happening is not America. It's not.
Mark, why do you feel that this platform is still useful to spread a message like this?
Listen, I want to pretend like this is, I want to be here to celebrate, and I am here to celebrate, and I'm proud to have a Golden Globe nomination. But also, this is not normal anymore. And so I don't know how I could be quiet. And I'm feeling a little sick, so it's hard to BS.
Oh, stop. I guess the chat is really, really spicy. Well, let's take a look at this. Yeah, he is. So let's see what's going on in chat before we get out of here. Many conservative pastors have called Trump out. Now it's your turn. For what exactly? Sackhead Sean responded, which ones and for what? Yep. Hold everything and everyone accountable. If not, get out of the pulpit and go into politics. What are you talking about? I'm not in a pulpit. Jesus looked at the heart. He didn't care what politics you had. Where do I even begin? Where do I even begin? if I'm guessing that was in response to when I said you can't be a Christian and be a Democrat. Jesus would absolutely care if you killed a child, if you killed a baby in the womb. He absolutely would care. And that is the political left. B says, as a Christian, you need to remember that Trump isn't your pastor, he's your president. Well, precisely. Precisely. Reality hasn't visited you at all. Apparently, being a Christian doesn't mean, being a Christian doesn't mean you're weak and stupid. Yeah, exactly. Nobody worships Trump. Nobody sane worships Trump. And if you watch me at all, you know that I have many criticisms of Trump. The only cult mentality is on the left. B says, I follow Jesus and respect my president. There's a difference. Yes, exactly. Luna. I'm going to refrain from continuing that. But she says Biden was bad, so is Trump. Okay. So you want to go back to when you were paying $4 and $5 a gallon for gas? You want to go back to 12 million at the low end illegal aliens crossing the border and straining our social framework? Okay. Pure idolatry. What are you talking about? Oh man, I missed out on this. This was amazing. It's all politics. This is a political show coming at it from a Christian perspective. If you don't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. All right, that's it. I could spend the next half hour, I guess, going over that madness. But wow. Oh, get them, BZ. This is amazing. Anyway, that's all I got for this briefing. I'm not just here to fill airtime and although I am here to read crazy chats, but we're here to equip Christian men, spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope for the next generation. If this matters to you, don't just watch, like, subscribe, share this video, share the channel with everyone that you know. Bring another man into the fight. And if you want to wear what you stand for, head over to missionreadymen.com and hit Shop 7 Armors and check out all the designs we have over there about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And remember, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.